About 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night, and the drive was about 2 hours. I didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the following day. Most of the drive was on the roads with dense bushes and trees on either side. The real creepy ones you see in a lot of movies. Anyway, I'd been driving for about 45 minutes and I was starting to get really tired. You know how sometimes you just suddenly become really tired out of nowhere? Well, yeah, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I didn't come across any place that I felt like I could park and safely sleep. Anyway, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up and my tiredness wasn't going away, I did something very questionable. I pulled over to the side of the road onto the grass, behind some bushes to try and hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. And the roads weren't empty. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was 11:22 p.m. and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awoken by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock and it was 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, and because I was still extremely tired, I didn't bother looking around and simply went back to sleep. I was later awoken by the same sound, and it was now 12:40. This time, it really freaked me out because the sound didn't stop. The thought ran across my mind that it was just an animal inspecting the car, but why would it return almost an hour after it had left the previous time? I looked in my rearview mirror and just managed to catch a glimpse of something running away into the forest. Now at the time, I thought it was a damn hook killer. You know, the one that scratched that couple's car and slaughtered the guy when he got out to investigate. Fuck that. I thought to myself, so I got the hell out of there. There was a bend no more than 100 yards up the road, and as I came around it, there was a fucking car parked off to the side of the road with the driver's side door open. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there, and there wasn't. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. I didn't see anything. And all of a sudden, this guy comes sprinting from around the corner. He starts screaming at me, shouting stuff like, hey you, get the fuck out of your car now. Well, I noped the fuck out of there and sped off. I never saw that guy again. Moral of the story, don't fucking sleep on the side of a deserted road. This happened to me and my friend back in 2012, and it was terrifying for us both times. And for starters, where I live is a top 10 in the US places for sex trafficking, so kidnappings do happen a lot. So the first time, this was a couple of years back, I think it was around 2012, when me and my best friend decided to take a walk down the road to relax at around 9 at night. We were both 20 at the time, and we both had athletic builds. We were walking to the Kangaroo to grab a slushie and walk back home. Overall, it would have been an hour-and-a-half trip. Where we are isn't the middle of nowhere, but it's not the city either. We're about halfway there and this big lifted truck drives by us. It then comes back to the opposite way 5 minutes later. My friend said that's the second time this truck has drove by, and that he felt uneasy. Not even 2 minutes later, the truck came by again, and it was speeding this time. My friend yelled at me to hide, and thankfully, we were right in front of a person's house. We jumped behind some bushes and tried to be quiet as possible. The truck had stopped and some really weird country-sounding guys in their 30s hopped out. We heard them asking where we went and where to find us. We stayed still for about 7 minutes, and they said, forget it, let's get out of here. We then waited for the truck to disappear, and we knocked vigorously on the person's door. They answered, and we explained what just happened, if we could get a ride back home. Thankfully, they were nice, and they did ask as we asked. This was the second time. So, same friend and I go out on another walk about 2 months later, but not as far around the same time though. We walked to the food line near my old high school and back. On our way back, another big lifted truck was speeding down this back road and ran us off the road. I yelled at them and flipped them off, and the truck screeched to a halting stop. Helping my friend up, I see 4 people in their 20s to early 30s get out, and this time, some had shotguns. They started running at us yelling, "Don't even think about running." Naturally, we sprinted and jumped the school gate and ran across the practice football field until we reached the car on the other side. Frantically trying to get into the car, we hear them yelling at us to come back. We then floored it home and made sure we weren't followed. That was the last time we went out for a walk together for obvious reasons. To those abductors who wanted God knows what, let's never meet. Okay, so this happened around 2 years ago roughly. I was 12 at the time, and I'm female. It was the summer after my 6th grade year, and as I had no friends, I'd go for walks each day to lose weight and kill a bit of time. I would often walk down to the local lake, and this is when I ran into the grey-haired woman. I was walking down to the lake as usual, and I spot her leaning against her house having a cigarette. We make eye contact, and in a trance-like state, she drops the cigarette on the ground and she starts to follow me. All while she was staring at me blankly. Not an angry stare, but a stare of someone who is not mentally there. This creeps me out, and I naively think, hey, maybe it's just a coincidence, maybe she walks down here too. So I cross the street and walk back to my house to avoid her. Was this the last incident I had with her? Not by a long shot. The next day I'll go walking again. I go to the lake, get some ice cream, and then start heading to my house when I saw her again. The grey-haired woman was standing with a man, side by side on their driveway. He's around 30, has long brown straggly hair, and was wearing a tie, dye cape, yellow Crocs, and holding a goat on a leash. On my life, I'm not making this up. He lives around the Seattle Bellevue area. And there the two were, just standing there in the driveway, staring at me, and also smiling like maniacs. This made my heart sink, and I walked faster. The man then begins to talk to me. "Hey, my mum saw you yesterday. How are you doing? Do you live near here? We see you walking around here." Me. "Oh, yeah, I live far away though." And that was a total lie. All while the woman is staring at me, she makes like psychosis or some shit. He then asks for my name and I say nothing as I quickly walk past them back to my house. I turn back to look at them several times, and they're standing in the exact same spot, staring and smiling. I thought surely nothing else will happen, right? Wrong. The next day I was walking to the lake, and this time with the intent to swim. And guess who I saw standing by her house smoking? The grey-haired woman. She doesn't say a word to me and starts following me again. She walks relentless. She followed me all the way to the lake. However, I was faster than her. I quickly made my getaway. There were 2 ways to get back to the main road to go home, and I took the long route, because she hadn't seen me dart to the left. As I head back to the main road, who do I spot? The fucking woman. She was looking around frantically trying to find me, and once she spotted me, she began sprinting in my direction, all while having a cold and glazed look in her eyes. I noped the hell out of there and Usain Bolt my ass all the way home, running on fear and adrenaline. I've seen her one other time, but she didn't notice me. I've since found a new walking path. So creepy woman and her weird son, let's never meet again.